South African electronic warfare technology has made and continues to make its mark in the international military arena, with homegrown self-protection systems being used by numerous defense forces around the world. And amongst its leading lights is defense manufacturer Saab Greentech. Joining us now to discuss how defense manufacturers are adapting their business models in peacetime Africa is Saab Greentech's Magnus Lewis Alston. Magnus, thank you so much for making the time to join us now. How has the defense and security environment in Africa changed over time? But most importantly, how has the industry responded to this change?
Well, thank you, Nasiba, for having me here. I think you started out by saying how we've made a mark in the world of electronic warfare. And I think it's important to say, as a South African company, sometimes you get a feeling that you think that we can't in South Africa invent and do high-tech equipment. And I think when I get the chance here on TV to say that you can. And we win competitions all over the world in competition with the best. And that's thanks to the engineers and the scientific help we have from South Africa. When it comes to your question, how has the defense changed? If I look for Saab, for instance, Saab in sub-Saharan Africa, we see that our biggest market is with the civil security.
Right.
And in the countries in sub-Saharan Africa, we're looking at field facilities, for instance, helping. That could be either the UN, like our operation in Somalia, where we help the UN with maintenance for the vehicles, but they also need somewhere to stay in an unsecure area. So we build up field facilities. We're looking at air traffic management. There's a lot of airports in sub-Saharan Africa and less of roads. So we try to help smaller airports to grow with air traffic management technology. Then, of course, we have surveillance. We try to get into things like anti-poaching with using military technology in anti-poaching.
So that's just one of the examples of sort of the new security threats that you're having to respond to.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the big one everyone's heard about for maritime surveillance for anti-piracy. And of course, we're in there as well. We're trying to promote our maritime surveillance aircraft all over the continent. But things that people don't really think about is like anti-poaching, how big areas to survey and to try to find the rhinos and to try to find the poachers. In there, I think one can use military technology, and I think to a large extent do maybe better than you do with traditional means.
What bearing has this had on reshaping your business model?
Our business model, it has reshaped it. I think if you look from in the bigger picture, I think defense industry as a whole has done a lot to civilian industry. I mean, we wouldn't have mobile phones if we weren't for radar technology, etc., etc. But for us, how we reshaped it is that we try to find ways where our products could work in a civilian environment. It could be police, it could be command and control that maybe from the beginning was designated to sit in a tank or to sit in some sort of frigate or something like that. It can still sit there, but it can also do tremendous work for the police in command and control, and to keep, like when you fly a fighter today, you know almost more about the environment around you than the guy who sits in as a fighter controller, because your radar and your data links and everything is so powerful. And if you can put that in a police car, they can know where all the other colleagues are, for instance. So there's a lot to do.
So if we look at the engineering and the technical expertise that is just so rich in this particular industry, how have these been leveraged in partnership with government to deliver on service delivery outcomes?
I think that, first of all, South Africa should be proud of the engineers, that you have very good engineers. We've seen that, I mean, we're a big company. We have activities in 100 countries, but nowhere can we have engineers like ours here when it comes to electronic warfare, for instance. The undergrowth, we're hoping, and I think education is crucial for the future, not just in defense industry, but if you look at the tiger economies in Asia, the reason they are so big and they were so good is because they really went for maths, physics, aerodynamics, electronical engineering, etc. And I think that's the way to go.
Of course, we also have a big spotlight on the energy sector in South Africa and, dare I say, on the continent broadly.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of sentiment around the opportunities that are available for defense and security companies to actually play a role around the energy sector. In your view, what does this role look like?
Well, for us in the energy sector, I think we are a technology provider.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a certain set of skills that could help the energy sector, but we can also use our, for instance, in some of these nuclear power plants, etc., you need surveillance, you need like controlling your borders. They need that in the energy sector as well, and that's what we can provide more than our just core energy engineering skills.
Before I let you go, Magnus, I mean, a couple of weeks ago I was speaking to the Paramount Group, and this is just after their acquisition of ATE South Africa.
Yeah.
Should we understand that to be a once-off acquisition, or are we really seeing a consolidation of the industry at large?
I wouldn't say that we see consolidation of the industry at large, but I think that as we saw in the US many years ago, they consolidated. I don't know, maybe there'll be a few more steps in Sub-Saharan and South Africa, but I think you have a set of very good companies in South Africa, and let's just hope that we can all thrive together in the future.
So I should understand this to mean that you're not in the game for mergers and acquisitions right now?
Not really, no, we're not really in the game for mergers and acquisitions.